on this journey, we have our projectors that have a focused and absorbing aura, right? So we went through the manifestor, which is that dense and pushing through, that reflector that's slipping through and sampling, the generator that's taking everything in. And now we have the projector that's like focusing in on something specific and like eating it. It's just like completely taking it into our being. And so the projector aura, it's focused and absorbing, and it's an aura that provokes recognition and invitation. It's the most open, absorbing, and penetrating aura. And it's focused, probing aura and complex personal interaction at deeper energetic levels. Like projectors love to go deep. Like we're gonna go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, endlessly deep. And so projectors make exceptional advisors, administrators, networkers, mediators, gifted organizers, and masters at understanding how to maximize energy and resources. And they see things others often miss.
It's important that the projector does recognize mastery as their thing. They love to master systems, and they should keep looking at that. Now, this aura that penetrates, focused and penetrating. Look at how it comes to a point. That point is designed to do many things, but its primary design is to get into the actual G center of the sternum of the other being that you are now sort of focused in on. And it does something else. It leaves you completely naked behind you. That's where, and you will take everything in as far as all the other energies that are around. So if you are not a projector and you have a projector friend and they focus in on you, you'll notice sometimes, oh my God, I'm being locked into this thing. Because that focus isn't just theirs. Once it gets into you, as soon as you're recognizing it and you're there, it locks you in too, to a certain degree. And projectors need to know that's a great power, because when you see someone trying to get away from you, even just a little bit, recognize it's your aura that person is like, well, I gotta go now. I gotta go now.
Yeah.
They have to like try. I gotta go now is the same thing as I gotta fumble for my keys. I gotta put on my hat. It's like I gotta do all this stuff before I can go now because the projector's got me gripped.
Mm-hmm.
It's designed to make us all find a direction. The projector guides a direction. They're guides. They guide direction, whether they know it or not, by virtue of penetrating their aura, penetrating us into our sense of direction in our G center. And it causes us to do our own self look of whatever that is that's happening. And it clarifies and hones in a direction en masse, slowly but surely. That's how, when they said the projectors are on the ascendancy because they're here to lend guidance and mastery to the rest of the population, that's why. That's the first round of that happening. Never mind when you know projectors and you're there and there is a guidance being offered literally. It's an energetic and literal guidance machine is what's happening. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like, little piece of recommended advice for my fellow projectors of like,
yes,
be careful who you're peering at, like for yourself and for the other person. Cause like, I think I'm just casually looking in something and I will like pick up so much weird stuff from people. And so for me, like I've gotten careful. I'm like, who am I like aiming this at? And then also for the flip side is
that literal? That's literal, isn't it?
Yeah, that's me. But I mean, I'm like a hyper empathic, sensitive person where I just like pick up way too much data from people and it could just get so exhausting. It's like Ross said, like the projector's literally eating other people's energy. And like, think of it, it's like, would you eat that other person? Some people are really tasty and like, yum, yum, yum. And some people are just like, you shouldn't be involved with that guy.
Right.
Get into some trouble. So yeah, I've learned, and especially as an ego projector, we just haven't that intenseness about us. So I've learn to pull back on who I'm looking at, how I'm looking back, both for me and for that other person, because it becomes like a consent thing. It's like we're looking into the core of somebody's being and we don't realize it because we're just doing our own thing, but we are so it's a privacy thing. And it's like you're looking at someone naked and like, it's like x-ray vision and you're looking at them naked and like, they did not welcome you in to look at them in that capacity. And like you said, they can get incredibly uncomfortable. It's like you're literally penetrating into another person without their consent. That's not cool. So be careful and let that person invite you in first, and if people get a little weird around you, like maybe like, just step back, give them a break, because we could just really see into the core of people. And I remember one time I got into a very strange argument with somebody and it exploded out of nowhere. And then afterwards, like this other friend of ours, he's like, I've known that guy for 10 years and you just figured him out in 5 minutes and like told him what's up in that amount of time. He's like, you need to be careful with that. You need to be careful with that ability because, you know, and I didn't really know human design at the time. So like, oh, wow, I had no idea. But we need to be careful with this because it is a very personal thing. It can be very obtrusive. It's like someone's just poking into you. So just projectors, we need to realize that even if we're trying to help, like no one's asking. Wait till they ask. They'll appreciate it. And then you won't get bitter and annoyed when they don't want you peeking in on them.
And if you felt like you had to help regardless, don't take it personally, any of it. Just do it because you felt like it. It satisfied something inside of you, or you felt like finding out what would happen, or, you know,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And there is a bargain because we're all part of the same, you know, mankind, human family, right? So there is a bargain. Um, the bargain is, I mean, it's pretty simple. I have agreed to be penetrated. So, and the real consent part, I would say, finesses out to really showing up in spades if it continues. I don't know how much the consent's needed for the first moment because that's our human condition. But
Well,
after
yeah, if
that,
you're just like interacting and like you're crossing someone in the shopping thing. But even then, I've had people like look at me, you know.
absolutely you have, right? So it is there potentially from the beginning, but it's just healthiest to recognize that it's about the continuance. And you, as a projector out there, when you're hearing all this, you recognize those times where you insisted on staying in the thing and someone's trying to peel themselves away.
Yeah.
Just like you recognized when you insist on you want to be in the thing and the other wants to be there right with you. And that felt so good.
Yeah, let them want you. Let the other want your energy and your focus because projector recognition, when somebody wants it, like they feel so special. When somebody wants our recognition, they could feel so special and they could feel so sad and hurt when like the projector takes their recognition away. Like I've definitely
Mhm.
experienced that, especially because projectors are good one-on-one, right? So like projectors are penetrating into a person. You can't eat two different people at the same time. It gets very confusing. It just like you're taking in too much data. And so that's like one of the things that Ross says that is projectors, we're one-on-one. And so if it's a projector with two people, like one of those people is not going to like you because you're not going to be focusing on them. And I've been in these situations often. I love my one-on-ones. And as soon as another person comes around, I'm a little annoyed, but I'm trying to be friendly. And I find myself, I have to make such an effort to look at the one person and talk to them and then look at the other person and talk to them and look at the first. Like it's such a conscious effort to try to make sure no one feels left out because we're so, you know, super
It's so
focused
funny
in on one at a time.
that you say all that because the one that's feeling left out in the moment, well, we're already, I mean, the default answer, obviously, it's no one's fault in that moment. But the truth of the matter is, what they're sort of picking up is the fact that your aura penetrates one at a time. Why aren't you penetrating me anymore? That's what's
Yeah,
happening.
no, it
You're
is.
the one guiding that feeling left outness. It's not the other one. Might be actually, it might be the other one, depending on circumstances. But most just energetically, textbook wise, that's you guys are creating that, and that helps fuel a direction in this profound kind of way. So love up that projector aura because it's good.
Mm-hmm.
Flash around, watch what happens when you look too long. Just like Moni says, careful where you point that thing. Find
Yeah.
out, experiment with it. Point it too much for a minute. You'll see.
Yeah, you'll
Right?
see that and see how good it feels when somebody invites you in. It's a very beautiful thing when somebody invites you in and like Danny said, don't take it personally. I've been really practicing that of like don't take it personally if somebody's not into whatever you're offering because it's not personal and you'll have that bitterness pop up like projector bitterness. It's just reality. But what I've really found is don't try to push things into existence. Don't try to push energy. Don't try to make other people do stuff is really the trick of it. You know, it's like projectors, do your own thing that makes you happy. Be careful when it's trying to make other people do things with their energy because that's where it gets squirrely. Just focus on perfecting yourself, master your systems, notice things, and wait for those people that are like, she notices stuff. Like, what do you
Right.
got? You've been paying attention, and I know you see something, and they're
Right.
asking for it, and you're like, oh, I feel. Oh, you want to know what I have to say? Let me tell you. You know, enjoy that bubbliness, and so see when you feel the bitterness of trying to guide somebody and tell them what to do because you're just trying to help, but they're not asking for it, and taste that bitterness, taste that like, I tried to help them, right? And then see the difference of when you wait and you're recognized and invited and you share that, and they see how special you are. You could taste the sweetness. Do you taste sweetness and success, or do you taste that bitterness? And that's a way I've really found as a projector to play with that.
I love the way you just described that. It's just such a simple thing. Just recognize it's for you. You guys are the kings and queens of recognition. All things recognition.
Yeah.
Recognize how to manifest. You recognize how to generate. You recognize how to penetrate. You recognize how to guide. You recognize how to be recognized or not.
Yeah, we see things others miss, and it just seems obvious. It's like funny to projectors, I think, when it's like, you see things, how did you notice that? And you're like, I don't know, it was right, like literally in front of my face. How could I not notice this in front of my face? But recognize that other types don't have that. They have another trip going on, and they have other skills and abilities that they're offering. So we're going to recognize things that people miss, and we're going to see the things that people need before they know they need them. So if you notice that somebody needs something, but they haven't noticed it, and then you start offering it, they're like, what are you doing? You're crazy. But wait 5-10 minutes or however long it is. And they're like, oh, I need this thing. Oh, do you know this? And then you're like, I do. I got that hit early. Let me help you with this. So
it's so true. And if you're a fourth line and you can't help it, you can at least project that if they're going to need this, you know what it is.
yeah. Or, you could do the little bit of a cheat of just like,
a tease. Put a tease out
in
there.
the moment, you can be like, hey, I noticed something. Would you like my input? And if they say no, like, don't take it personally. But that's like a little bit of like a cheat that you can maybe like put a feeler out with like a question, but try to hold back on immediately trying to help people because maybe they need to stumble and figure it out themselves. And now we're interfering. So notice, as projectors, we can either be the most brilliant, beautiful guides, or we can really interfere and mess stuff up. So play with that in your experiment.
And that interference runs both ways, because when the projector aura disorganizes because its focus went into the wrong thing for it, that disorganization is both ways. It's both to the other, that's like whatever, and then back to yourself. It's like a feedback loop. So whatever happens there sort of comes back in on you in those moments when that's happening. Very powerful aura, very nuanced bunch of things. I don't feel very nuancey with my generator aura. I bet you the other two auras feel a little nuancy about their stuff, and I know for a fact this aura nuances out all over the place. And I can't wait for more projectors to keep telling their stories. It'll be a very good thing.
I feel so recognized. Thanks.
Well, thank you. I need you guys. Nothing ever good happens in my life until I have an intersection with a projector. It's 100% at this point. When I go back over time, they're always there. They're always there. It never fails. And I'm like, oh my God. Then there's a manifestor making an impact. It's always there.
Yeah, it's like when we're all on our A game, like the beauty of the world.